CM Punk to AEW confirmed. Dude, stars, Chicago Stars, CM Punk. Nothing?
No, nothing at all.
Shut up, Mark.
So yeah. See the shirt? See the shirt? Can you make out the Chicago flag on it with the little red stars?
All right.
That's what that's about.
Let's not get let's just get right past all this nonsense. Boom. What's up? Smarkdown Radio. What's up, Smarks? Travis, Brother Bob. We're excited. We're actually got good stuff to talk about.
Yeah, but we also have bad stuff to talk about.
Oh, yeah, we'll get to that. But I want to focus on good stuff. I enjoyed an entire wrestling program. Well, okay. I enjoyed 90% of a wrestling program.
Until you damn near lost your mind when they cut to the wrong camera.
Okay. All right. We'll get to that. I feel like a lot of the people who are covering Double or Nothing, they were there. We were not.
Yep.
We did watch it at the Smarkdown studios and fired it up. And we also had the cool experience. We got to watch it with a veteran pro wrestler, Josh Raymond, wrestler, promoter, a.k.a. Josh Abercrombie, Ring of Honor, Wrestling Society X, et cetera. He came over and hung out, watched the show with us. And that's a real fascinating thing to hear a guy, who's a veteran and worked and hear his take on what's going on as opposed to us as fans. And it was a real fun time. And we all really enjoyed the show. But we also have a couple of bones to pick, or specifically I do. Whereas I feel like a lot of the big shows, the Meltzers and those guys, they were there. And they're putting it over, deservedly so. But they didn't see what we got to see in terms of the production errors.
Yeah.
So, but really, that's the only thing I really have a whole lot to gripe about is the production errors. So, yeah, we're about to put Double or Nothing way over the moon. I promise. I'm over here talking all kinds of nonsense about how this is a great pay-per-view. So don't worry if you're in the AEW camp and you're 100% on board with AEW and they can do no wrong. Well, that's not me. I'm going to be honest, but I'm going to put it over. I promise. Okay. We're also going to bury on a new epic level, bury WWE. Well, it's just, we got to go there.
Well,
right?
I think that opening graphic said it all. I mean, where AEW is Jericho after Double or Nothing. Raw is bad, just bad. And, SmackDown tonight, also not good. So we'll get to talk about that as well.
I suppose we should also talk about Vince Russo's grab for a little bit of attention, and he has now become a conspiracy theorist. And
we shouldn't put Russo over. No, nobody wants to hear what Russo say.
Who the hell's going to put him over? I was going to bury him for being that dumb. Russo is postulating a conspiracy theory that WWE and AEW are working together, and this is all a work, and we're all marks because we're not smart enough like him to see that they're in cahoots, and this is all one big.
And he's comparing it to how WWE financially supported ECW. The thing he doesn't take into account is that WWE has another brand that they are supporting called NXT, and that is where like all these talents are going, who they then bring up to the company, so they don't need to have another brand be like a minor league to develop talent like they were doing in ECW. They kept ECW around to steal ideas from and to
steal talent from.
And I mean, that was why they kept ECW alive. I do not see Vince at this point in time with them having shareholders and being a publicly traded company, being able to secretly open another company and work in tandem with them. Like, there's no way any of that is possible. They have to be open with their books, open with their accounting. This stuff's is gonna end up being public record. So I mean, there's no way they're gonna be able to swerve people and have a separate company running under WWE using funds that the same funds without it getting out to the shareholders.
So yeah, like, I mean, let's just call Vince Russo what he is. He's an idiot and move on. Okay, like this is ridiculous. So let's Bob, we gotta like we said, we've got a lot of good, some really bad, and then the awful that is WWE. So let's start. I kind of want to start with the really good Double or Nothing, the in-ring performance, really from the time the actual show started until it ended was second to none. It was just absolutely stunning. It was amazing. I'll admit, in the Battle Royal, the Casino Battle Royale, I was a little nervous. We saw some of their favorites, kind of the indie darling guys working that match, some of the more Gaga type guys, and some of the more Gaga type things I could do without the Janela cigarette spot and things like that. Okay, I just can. However, credit where credit's due, as the bodies cleared out and it got more serious, and you called it. It wasn't really a stretch. Adam Page comes out, and he's the 21st guy. There's 22nd, but he was the big 21st surprise entrant. And when it got down to just a handful of guys left, the feeling and the tone and the tenure of the Battle Royal changed. It got much more serious. It got much more believable, and that's where I started kind of buying into what was going on. I have to say, I don't know if we've seen a heat magnet like MJF in probably 10 years. Like, who's the last magnet?
MJF seen a freaking sign in the friggin' Raw crowd last night. There was an big ass MJF sign. So dude is already over. Like, it's pretty amazing.
He doesn't have old school 80s atomic heat where nobody's gonna go stab MJF, but the crowd, the fans, have really bought into hating this guy.
Yeah.
And like everybody on the roster hates him, and they're doing a really good job of perpetuating that. So, and his promo's amazing. Okay, I can't say I liked what he was doing in MLW, the Dynasty angle, and they're working New Heart Foundation quite a bit down there, and but he seems to be a guy, and this is just a first impression. He seems to be a guy that excels when you put him around other top guys. It elevates his game. It takes it up another level, because that was some of the best MJF I've seen. And I don't have a ton of MJF viewing in, but I've seen a bit of him now.
Yeah.
This is it's not like my first exposure to him. And he really took it to another level. And we want to talk about the title presentation or unveil with Bret Hart. He comes out, cuts a promo on Bret Hart, and really just, old school heel fashion.
Yeah.
And it was really good. But I can't say enough. Hangman wins. MJF and Hangman are the last two Hangmans injured and kind of celebrating. And MJF, being the weasel out on the floor, rolls back in. He didn't get eliminated and tries to eliminate him. Doesn't work. Man, that buckshot lariat looks good too. Hangman has really, really got that down to a science, right? Like that thing looks good.
Yeah, I love that.
Just
move.
Devastating.
Yeah, when he first started doing that, I was like, I've never been a big fan of like a clothesline for like a finisher. I always hated JBL's like clothesline from hell. The one exception was always Okada's Rainmaker. I always enjoyed that, but for the most part, clotheslines as finishers I haven't liked. But Hangman's really perfected his, and I really am enjoying everything about his character right now. As Cody said, he's a fucking horse.
Yeah, and so Hangman is getting a title shot.
Yep.
So that's fantastic. We knew he was going to be in the main event picture very early on. And that's another thing. We learned a lot about where guys are going to be positioned, at least initially on the card, by this show and through the Battle Royal. So because like I said, those kind of when it coalesced into those last handful of guys, you could see Luchasaurus. He's got size. He was one of the last guys in. You know, he was the guy that Page eliminated, kind of to make him think he had the win. It looks like he's going to be taken very seriously.
Yeah.
You saw later on in the show when MJF did come out to cut the promo, and this is a guy, you know, he was on that level. He was just shy of beating Page. So, you know, he's going to be very serious in terms of his position on the card. So later on in the show, when other people come out to confront him and they're surrounding him, you get the feeling that those guys are going to be in that next level down, just below the main event. And MJF's going to kind of be the divider. He'll float between the two. He'll be like at the bottom end of the main event and the top end of where like the high mid card starts, and he'll kind of go between the two.
Mm-hmm.
At least that's my feeling. That's what it looks like. And it looks like, you know, that's kind of going to be maybe Luchasaurus, Jimmy Havoc, and Jungle Boy, who apparently is crazy over with the women's. Like everybody, and White Meat Babyface. I'm not a big fan of the gimmick. I didn't get it. Didn't see much of him, but he is good. He seems to be very good, not great, but good in the ring. And he's a guy. I talk about the ineffable hateable quality, that undefined hateable quality. When you look at somebody and you're just like, I hate you. He has the opposite.
Yeah.
He's got this ineffable likable quality. People just like him.
So
they look at him and they like him.
So Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus. The gimmick is very similar to Jack Kirby's Devil Dinosaur and Moon Boy comic that came out in the 70s, which had a dinosaur and then like a Neanderthal-esque character that like rode on the dinosaur's back and like protected the Neanderthal from like other dinosaurs. It was a very, very simple comic. It's one that my kid loves. Jordan just simply loves it. And I've seen a resurgence in the last, 5 or 6 years with Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur being a thing. And their gimmick really seems similar, like to where Moon Boy gets up on the shoulders of Luchasaurus for their finishing move and them working as a tag team. It seems to be almost a callback to that comic. And I dig it. I think it's different than stuff we've seen so far. Like we've never seen anything really like that in wrestling. And yet, Luchasaurus is still, a serious big dude who can, seriously, beat the crap out of somebody, and you believe it even though he's got like a dinosaur mask. So
yeah,
I dig
there was
it.
There was no doubt that Luchasaurus is a tough guy.
Yeah.
You can kind of have funky gimmicks if you're kicking butt and taking names. You kind of see that right now. One of the few things that they've managed to stumble into in the WWE with Kofi, they're trying to make Kofi look strong because he's champion. So he's getting clean wins quite a bit for a WWE champion, especially, right? Like, I mean, he's comparatively so is being protected, and people aren't necessarily kicking out of his finishers anymore, things like that. So, and New Day's gimmick is goofy as hell.
Yep.
Like, let's be honest, it's goofy, it's silly, but it's fun, and you believe those, and we can see those guys can go.
Yeah,
they all can go. So you can be goofy and silly and fun until it's time to go, and then you got to handle business.
Yep. I mean, as much as we complain about like weird, goofy shit in WWE and backstage segments and stuff, some of my favorites over the years have had a goofy gimmick, but were so good they managed to get it over. Guys like Kurt Angle and the Milk gimmick, and Hurricane Helms, the superhero gimmick where he puts the cape on, does the top rope thing, and I mean, but they had him get legitimate wins over guys and for the mid card titles, so he was able to get that stuff over. And if you can get it over, and I mean, even Mick Foley and Sacco was okay. I mean, you have to have some credibility to it, though. You can't just have a guy who can't compete in the ring and give him a goofy gimmick, because that doesn't help anybody.
Sacco was funny because he's pulling it out of his sweaty, dirty tights,
Yeah.
and then he was slapping on one of the most feared finishers in you know wrestling. Like the mandible claw was uber over as a finisher. So yeah, I mean it's that split, and I'm not huge fan. There's a time and place for funny stuff, and that kind of seems to be it. But yeah, you know, I wasn't sold, Bob. I wasn't sold after the pre-show. So, and immediately one of the issues, some of the YouTube streams they had issues.
Yeah.
We caught the pre-show on a YouTube stream. We kind of came in a little bit late to the Battle Royal. It turns on. There's a bunch of goofy shit happening, and I'm a little like, oh boy, oh, this is not. I was like, well, the lighting looks great. The arena sounds good. It's mic'd. It's mic'd like Raw and WCW in the 90s. So there's a lot of noise without it being extra clear like WWE is now. Where they seem to be tweaking it. They just found a level and left it. I love that. It looked good. The video quality looked good. But I just wasn't quite sold. The Battle Royal, it was okay. Okay, and I'm like, okay, it's the pre-show. And then you have Kip Sabian and Sammy Guevara come out, and they work a simple, I say simple, but it's a simple 10-minute match. They both look good. They got their stuff in without going overboard. I don't feel like they did too much to like where they, you know, blew up all the matches that followed it. It was a very tight 10, and Kip Sabian picks up the win, and we move on to the main show. I enjoyed the match.
Both guys impressed me, in part because of they didn't put too much, they didn't try to cram too much into the match. It wasn't like high spot after high spot after high spot, which, you know, you often hear about independent guys who haven't made it into like Ring of Honor or New Japan yet, who are just working other indie companies. You hear that, you know, horror story often of like, oh, the guy just does a bunch of like crazy spots. So it was nice to see, you know, that they were able to work a solid match that made sense. They were able to tell a story in the ring. You know, I enjoyed it. I thought it was impressive for a couple young guys. I'm looking forward to seeing more of them against some other opponents. And, you know, it left me wanting to see more. So that's always a good thing.
Now, before we go any further, Bob, I want to point something out. Because inevitably we're going to get to WWE. We're going to talk comparison. Okay? Sabian Guevara was the shortest match on the entire card. 10 minutes. Tight 10. Okay? I just happened to look at Money in the Bank, last WWE pay-per-view. Half of the matches on Money in the Bank were shorter than this match. And that's it. If you include, that's transparency. That's if you include Bayley defeating Charlotte in her cash-in. Okay, that's, well, you know, the WWE pay-per-view is 9 hours long and they have all these things to put on. Okay. So if you include said Bayley Charlotte match, there were 12 matches on Money in the Bank. Okay. Including the pre-show, there were 12 matches. Double or Nothing had 9 matches. So there's only a 3-match difference. 3 matches. Okay. You're telling me that, and it was, what, almost 45 Money in the Bank was almost 45 minutes longer. The pre-show starts at 7. And you know, it runs till God only knows when, and say, you know, so same time, half hour longer. So I mean, what, you're telling me you can't cut some of the nonsense and the monotonous video packages and the promos and the Elias segment and get more in-ring time, WWE? Well, I think it's fascinating because, you know, you have the first match of the card go a tight 10 and still give you a good, you came away feeling very good about the match. It wasn't right home to mama. It wasn't anything special, but it was a very enjoyable kickoff match. And what you're going to notice is as we go through the card, you know, times will fluctuate a little bit, and then towards the second, third of the card, they go up into the 20s, and those were where the matches were great because they got time to tell their stories.
Now, to be fair to WWE, when you have a TV product that is mostly backstage segments and you don't have people tuning in, your numbers have dropped, but your pay-per-view numbers haven't dropped quite to that extent. You do kind of need those video packages to let people know what's going on, because WWE doesn't make matches simply behind this person wants a title and this person has the title. They don't make simple matches of, this person wants to prove they're better than that person. They have these wacky, zany stories going on, and they need context, so you know what the hell's going on. Because when you don't have context, you end up with stuff like we've seen on Raw, which I'm sure we're gonna get to, the whole Sami Zayn in a electric chair thing. So I mean, you kind of need context, but that's just a sign of the issues that exist within WWE's writing and booking.
Yeah, there are definitely some issues there. So next matchup, SCU defeating Strong Hearts with Best Meltzer ever, 1340. I had not seen a lot of Strong Hearts. This was a really good match.
Yeah.
This was like a really good match, and everybody was in great shape. Like everybody looked like just in great shape.
Yep.
They've been off kind of getting ready for the show or only working limited dates, so they've probably been extra in the gym, which is not a bad thing, but like Kazarian just looked amazing. You know what I mean? Like he just what is he, early 40s, just looking great. I mean, Daniels and Scorpio Sky looked really good too, but I felt like Kazarian just looked better than he has in like 2 years. Just out of nowhere, I was like, yeah, he's always in shape and always, but like he just looked a little more jacked, a little more swole. Just a little.
Absolutely, and then Christopher Daniels is on the Paul Rudd diet, apparently, where he just doesn't age because he drinks baby's blood for 3 meals a day or something. I mean, that guy has been around since WCW days, and him and AJ Styles is another guy who's been around since WCW, and both those guys are still just amazing in the ring. I was gonna say phenomenal, but I caught myself.
So look, the match was in Vegas. SU super over with AEW fans and BTE fans to begin with. It's a car drive from Southern California.
Yep.
Did we really expect? I think we both kind of picked SCU to go over. We were like, maybe they kind of throw us a curveball, but this was no big surprise. But those guys went out there. They worked a really good match. Things looked good. And just kind of kept the show. That was the first match on the main show. Kicked it off right. I know one of the things that Josh said is this shouldn't be the opening match.
Yep.
And I kind of initially agreed with him. Immediately I was like, yeah, this feels a little like WWE booking. This feels like it's bigger because SU's so over. It feels a little bigger than an opening match really should be if you're doing the traditional build.
Yep.
And I was worried that we were going to get, overmatch, potty match, overmatch, popcorn match, and we didn't get that. I think this was just we're going to put our best foot forward because SU is so popular. You're going to get a good match out of these guys, all 6 of them, but they could rein it in to where they weren't blowing everybody out that followed behind them. Because again, this was not a match that just stole the show.
Yeah.
Okay. Could they have, if they gave them 5 more minutes and told them to? Probably.
Yep.
I have no doubt that everybody in that ring was capable of doing much more, but they didn't need to and they didn't want to. And it was a very enjoyable match.
Yep.
Period. I was just like, okay, now we're talking. Yeah. I'm into the show.
The placement made sense to me. for a couple of reasons. One that we wouldn't find out till later was that we had two wrestlers on the show both doing a Freddie Mercury gimmick coming down to the ring. And I'm like, well, you can't really do those back to back because that would, kill the second one. And the second thing being because SCU's over and because they weren't going to put Kenny and Jericho as the opening match. They weren't going to put Cody and Dustin as the opening match. And they weren't going to put Bucks and Lucha Brothers as the opening match. And other than those guys, the guys who are most over, who are most established on a microphone, who could get the crowd into the show right as soon as they come out, do the little intro thing, welcome to, Double or Nothing, were the guys from SCU. So it made sense to have them come out there and do their SCU shtick and get the crowd, into the show right off the bat after the pre-show. It seemed like the perfect fit, and it was short, sweet, and they got in, everything they needed to say quickly and got to the match.
Yeah, they got their stuff in, got to the match, got their stuff in the match. Good, solid win. I like I said, I don't have much negative to say. My negatives, again, all my negatives throughout the entire card are all on the production side. It's nothing that happened in the ring. Okay.
I'm just glad you quit picking on poor Christopher Daniels' singing voice. I mean, I know he's no Freddie Mercury, but it was fine, dude. Like, you gotta let it go.
Well, that was not, in fact, what I was raging about. But so the things that upset me, obviously, and we'll get there. The timekeeper ringing the bell on a 2 count.
Yep,
is really inexcusable. That's like the kind of thing I expect to have happen in a rec center or in a high school gym, not at the MGM Grand on a pay-per-view when you know what's at stake. You knew the expectations are high. That is a mistake that can't happen. The other thing, and the one that both Josh and I just I lost my stuff.
Yes, you did.
And I really did. I was screaming at the TV. Was when the Dustin and Cody match and they show it starts off great and they're lifting the thing up and it's the throne and you're like, oh, what are they doing? That's like a Triple H thing. They're going to take a dig, right? And then the cameraman frames up the tunnel and Cody's music's playing and frames up the tunnel and just has to keep panning until he turns all the way around to see Cody. And I'm like, you can't mess that up. Yeah. Like that is Bush League amateur. You just ruined one of the best entrances of the night for everybody watching at home. You blew it. I don't want to blame specifically the cameraman. Okay. Yeah. Like there was,
I can cover this part. Well, you calm down. So, Dustin, during his, show at Starcast mentioned that he was under the impression he was coming out first to that match, and then Cody's music hit and Cody went out. Cody mentioned that he was doing some production stuff and working backstage, and there was photos and stuff from backstage of Cody, at the board doing camera, switching cameras and doing audio and stuff before his match. So it sounds like it was probably a change up from who was going to go out first, and then a switching over of whoever was in the production chair because Cody had to go out there and he was in it earlier, so they probably moved somebody else over to that spot, and it was probably just a culmination of like both those things with the cameraman shooting the wrong tunnel and a lack of communication, and it's something they will have to deal with in the future if Cody's going to keep being involved in production and wrestling, because they need to transition to him going to the ring seamlessly instead of having slip-ups like this. But it sounds like it's just a culmination of doing a lot of different things all for the first time.
Yeah, you can't. So you have to prepare for this sort of thing. Cody should not be in guerrilla running production when he has a match. I don't care. Like that is something you can do on an indie show. That is something you can do on a very small scale video internet type show, I'm sure, right? It is ludicrous to think that you can run production and run it up to the point where you're having a match. All right. And I'm going to talk as an event producer, somebody who's done smaller events. Okay. One of the things I learned very early on in event production is you don't teach, or in my case, we were doing a lot of educational stuff, a lot of classes, seminars, things like that, right? That's what we did. Okay, you don't teach at your own event, because inevitably when you get up from your headquarters position, wherever you're running your event out of, whether it's a desk, a room, whatever, and you go to do the other thing, that's when there are things that you need to handle are going to pop up. That's when things where like people need direction, inevitably, it's a fact. It always happens. So you can't, and this is something Cody's going to have to work on. He's going to have to find balance between being a performer and being an executive.
Yep.
And he said it himself. He's aware of that.
Yeah.
But if you knew you were running production, okay, you need safeties in place.
Yep.
I don't know what that safety is. If that's a guy standing literally, because the two tunnels, obviously they went off to the sides and then they converged back into the backstage area together. Okay, if that's a quality control guy that is getting constant updates from Gorilla, he's working in basically the Gorilla area there, and his whole job is to just stand there and with a list or whatever, a big sign behind him, use some kind of poster or something where it has all the wrestlers with arrows pointing towards the tunnel they need to go to. Okay. And if there's a change it. Use a damn whiteboard, something. Figure it out.
Simple solution. Shoot both tunnels and have the guy doing production in back be able to switch to the other tunnel with a flip of a switch rather than having to pan the camera, one camera over to the other tunnel.
That was going to be a great shot, man.
Yep.
Like I want to see those shots.
Yep.
So if you're going to do them though, you got to do them right.
Yep.
Because I lost that's exactly what I railed against, Bob, in our AEW Double or Nothing preview.
Oh, well, I got the footage. I'll make sure to implement it into said video.
Oh, dear. I mean, good Lord. You can't do that.
Yep.
That is inexcusable. The timekeeper really it burned me, but I was like, okay, that's the type of, like, that's your one mistake. That's like that's your gimme. Okay. You're a new promotion. The timekeeper rang the bell. All right. Like, he got a little antsy, and the ref, credit to her. I don't have her name. I didn't write it down. She was a boss, man.
Yeah.
She handled it. She's two. I said two.
Yep.
No, the match isn't over. Was authoritative.
Well, I mean,
control, and ran that match.
When it happened, I was just kind of waiting. Like I know Josh and you were both like, "What the heck?" And I'm just kind of waiting for, like, all right, some kind of schmaz or something. I'm so used to watching WWE that I'm like, all right, they're gonna like, restart the match or something crazy. And I'm like, oh, nope, it was just, a mistake. And thank God they handled it properly and just was like, all right, the timekeeper screwed up and we're going to keep wrestling and it's going to be over. And, if with WWE, I could see, all kind of ridiculousness, Vince McMahon would have ran out, tore both quads, it would have been crazy.
Yeah. And kudos to the ref, like, just doing her job.
Yeah.
Basically, it'd be like, nope, I counted two. She knew this wasn't the finish. We're going to the finish. And, that happened in the 6-woman tag match.
Yep.
And one of the things we didn't get to see that I heard some of the other shows talking about that were there live and got to see it. Apparently, after the match, after they had went home, finished the match, Aja Khan got out of the ring and went over and gave business to the timekeeper because it, like, threw off their ending. It kind of, it wasn't as it didn't get the reaction it would have gotten.
Well, I mean,
otherwise, I mean, yeah,
Jericho
it
did.
happens.
Jericho did later in the night. Went over and like took the bell and rang it at him a bunch of times, and it was
Played it up.
Yep.
Played it up, and but apparently off camera, Aja went over and really was cutting a promo on him.
Yep.
And I was like, man, that'd be great, but scary, but great. Yeah. So let's get back into the show, because those, and I would give the commentary a B- to a C+, and it.
Well, Travis, if they got only a B-, that's their damn fault.
No.
JR was so surly.
JR was surly, and he was cutting no breaks. But that isn't why.
Well, if you leave your feet and you get caught, that's your fault.
Yeah,
my God,
he was not being if you did something stupid, he was just hammering you with it, and I didn't mind that. But my issue was, it wasn't that anybody was particularly awful. It's a 3-man booth. It's a new 3-man booth, and it feels like it's just chemistry and timing, and they need to figure that booth out. There was nothing egregious. I know some people are like, oh, the commentary. We got real commentary for the first time on a wrestling show in I don't know how long. On an American wrestling show, at least.
The only time there's been a 3-man booth that has been consistently good in the entire time that I've watched wrestling was WCW's 3-man booth of Shivani, Heenan, and Tenay, because they all brought something different. None of them talked over each other. And that is really what you need. It needs to be something completely different. In this one, you had all 3 guys doing a little bit of play-by-play. You didn't really have one guy doing it. And you really need to figure out who your play-by-play guy is, who your color guy is, and keep them in that role a little bit better, because it is a bit jarring going from hearing one guy call a move, another voice call a move, and then a third voice call another move, and you're like, I'm trying to keep up with the action, and the voice and the cadences of the calls keep changing.
I don't know. I think there's something there. Again, I think that'll come down. We'll find out. They'll get a little time to work together and see if they can work on that chemistry and get it set up. And I don't think it was bad. I don't think it was a home run. Yeah. Okay. I think they've got a lot of room to improve. The other thing is they did a lot of what we criticized the WWE for. There wasn't a lot of explanation about who people were or are or why they're fighting. You did get, for the higher up on the cards, Cody, Dustin, and Jericho and Omega, you got packages, very short, concise ones, which I loved, but those were very well done. Those were WWE quality. The packages were good. So but I think as they move forward, that'll get better as well. Those I feel are all correctable, acceptable mistakes, and not really mistakes. That's kind of where you knew. I had a feeling they would fall short there. There was going to be some lag time on getting comfortable together as a commentary team, but JR was much more engaged. He sounded like he wanted to be there, even though he was burying people. Oh man, he was. But I mean, it was genuine. It was JR was. It was more real JR than even back in the Attitude Era. He was completely unrestricted on what he could say.
And I like that they didn't push him into lead play-by-play guy. They let him do, play off the other 2 guys doing play-by-play. And I think that helps too, because one of the criticisms I had of JR with his New Japan stuff is he was miscalling some of the moves. He called them by their American name, or he call a move. He call it correctly by the long term name, spinning discus lariat, but that's a Rainmaker. Whoa, that's a Rainmaker, JR. That's the dude's finisher. You gotta catch that one. Stuff like that would happen, and I think with the guys who are more familiar with the talent in WWE currently, those guys calling the moves on play-by-play alleviates that as being an issue.
Yeah, I think that's why there's something there to that 3-man booth, and we'll see what happens. We'll see how it develops. Again, I don't want to bury it because it wasn't. We got things that we hadn't gotten in a while. I think JR made it a point to lay out at times and make the other guys lay out as well, and that is a lost art in wrestling. It just does not happen enough. Where announcers just shut up and let us like watch what's happening and take it in. And there are times to, really be up in your face, and there are times to just shut up and let the moment speak for itself. And that's what JR's always been good at. So I think that was a great highlight. Actually not getting inundated with, different plugs and stories, and actually getting match commentary was great. So let's move back to the card, because we got Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, and Nyla Rose and Kylie Ray in the.
Isn't that DDS?
No, it's DMD.
DMD, okay.
DMD. Hey, you got the toothbrush, don't you?
I haven't. I haven't opened it, so.
Okay, fair enough. So Brother Bob's got a Britt Baker DMD toothbrush floating around there. Yeah. So
one of those things you get when you subscribe to those Pro Wrestling Pro Wrestler crates. The things are friggin' awesome. Like I've gotten 2 of them now, and they've both been fantastic. The one came with a Britt Baker toothbrush, and the one that the holiday one came with a Being the Elite Christmas tree ornament. And I'm like you're not gonna get that stuff anywhere else. So that's very cool. And the shirts, are always good quality. So you have the triple threat match, and Brandy comes out, and she's wearing her ring gear. You expect her. Oh. It looks like she's gonna insert herself, and she's like, pull a Stephanie.
Stephanie.
A lot of people, it got really quiet when she came out, and people, from what I've heard from people there, people were kind of mulling, oh God, this is gonna be like a Stephanie McMahon moment. This is not what we want. And they
got us.
Yep, absolutely.
And you know what? To be fair, it was okay, is she gonna and she's like, I know, I have no doubt you 3 could have a great match, but I don't want a great match. I want an awesome match. And everybody's like, okay.
Yeah.
And of course that means Awesome Kong. Kong was great at being Kong.
Yep.
Kong did Kong things.
So Kong's story, it's been a while since she's been in the ring and wrestled a match, and she was having a hard time finding that Kong side of her in-ring persona going into the show. And she's backstage. Just before going out, Diamond Dallas Page comes up to her and is like you got this. You're gonna reach deep down inside and be positive that you can do this and bring out that badness within you. You're positive, right? You've read my book Positivity, haven't you? And she's like, oh, I'm gonna buy it on Amazon right now, just as soon as this match is over. But I can be positive. He's like, yeah, you're gonna go out there and be a monster. You're gonna be a beast. And he psyched her up, and that is what got her in the zone for the match. And I'm like, that is an awesome story. I love it. She's like, yeah, DDP stared directly into my eyes with those piercing blue eyes of his and just pumped me up for my match. And I'm like, God, I love Diamond Dallas Page.
Nice. Kong came out, did Kong things. A quick 11-10. Good match. Very, very solid opener. I know there's been Cody's getting buried by the WWE marks because of when he was commenting about Kylie Ray, and everybody thinks he's attacked Bayley. He didn't attack Bayley. He attacked the WWE and their use of gimmicks and unnecessarily use of gimmicks.
Yep.
Because Bayley
doesn't need 2 men to get over as a character.
So it wasn't a shot at Bayley. It was a shot at the WWE. Okay. It clearly, but people took it out of context. The internet, it broke the internet because everybody loves Bayley too. Let's not lie. Bayley is really likable character. Okay. 2 men or not, or whatever. And Bayley's a really good worker.
Yep.
Bayley's in-ring work is really good. So, all the girls, they looked good. They all stayed within herself. The kind of the weak link, I know Kong had a little bit of ring rust. I feel like the weak link was almost not Nyla Rose. Just not bad, but just didn't seem to stand out especially with the other three.
Yeah, I think she would have stood out more had it been just a triple threat match and she got to be the one monster in the match. Yeah, and I think that's a thing. But I don't know, like I wouldn't mind seeing Nyla Rose and the two Kongs go at it. Asia Kong and Awesome Kong in a triple threat. I wouldn't mind seeing that.
Well, there's definitely there's a lot of potential there. Yeah. And Nyla's going to be a long-term part of their plans, but I think maybe that's what it was is, she was going to be kind of the big intimidating one in the match, and then Kong, like what I mean, Awesome Kong, like you got out big and intimidated. But Britt picking up the win. No real big surprise there. I think she's kind of become the face of the women's division, at least as AEW starts up. Yeah. It looks kind of like that's the direction they're going to go in. They do need to add some more permanent women's talent. They did a lot of imports in the for the other women's match, which was great, but I don't think that's a long-term solution unless we start seeing them on TV and building them. They could use and they could still use a little depth to that division. But another really good match. Fit in really well, and a tight 11-10 and move it on.
They did make a new signing today for the women's division. I'm going to get the name here in just a second because I can't remember it off the top of my head.
I did see that. I'll let you look up that name as we move into the Best Friends defeating Angelico and Jack Evans, and this was a really solid tag team match. I believe this was the first match that got This Is Awesome chants on the night. It got tag team wrestling chants, and these guys, it really, not a tremendously long match, but they got 12:35 to work it. They did the spot where Chuck and Trent went to hug, and then Angelico and Jack Evans broke them up, stopped them from hugging, and then you got the payoff later in the match, and I really have to say out of all the Jack Evans really impressed me in this match.
Yep.
I thought he looked really good.
Well, he's been around forever,
right? He just brought his A game. Yeah. These are all really good workers. It was a really good match. It was put together well. It told a story. It was a tag team match that felt like a tag team match that mattered. And some of the stuff he did was it just felt like it was kind of a little half notch above the other guys. Maybe he was just having a standout night, but kudos to all these guys. The Best Friends pick up the win. And then the house lights go out, and everybody's like, what the hell? And then the Super Smash Brothers show up with a bunch of minions and kick the crap out of everybody.
Yep.
And we don't know if they're going to be the Super Smash Brothers. There's talk that there's maybe a name changing coming for those guys or whatever. But they got, who are you chants and kind of like, what's going on?
Yeah.
But it was an interesting.
Well, JR didn't even know what was going on. He was on commentary like, who are these guys? What's going on? Why are there all these guys around the ring? And I'm like, and I didn't know. I'm still not sure whether or not JR was with the work on JR's part or whether he legitimately was trying to figure out what was going on in that moment.
No, I'm willing to bet it was a work. It feels like this is one of those. Like they're gonna come in. They brought in all these minions, and they wrecked everybody, and then they leave, or they do the pose down or whatever. Like this, they build this human throne, and it looked cool. It was a cool beat down. But there's mystery. Who are these guys? Yeah. Now we've got this question out there. There's this tag team with a bunch of minions who came out and wrecked other tag teams in the tag team division. Immediately you're like, who are these guys? Well, we don't need to know today.
Yeah.
This is nobody knows who these guys. Well, I mean, yeah, kayfabe. Nobody knows who these guys are, right? So we've got an exciting thing, at the next show if they come out and do it again and wreck another tag team, right? It's building up to where you find out who they are, okay? Yep. But it's not vignettes and it's actually them showing up. and being impactful.
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay with that. Like, I was like, okay, this is cool. It gives me something to think about. Who are these guys? Like, what are they doing? Where'd all these minions come from? Blah, blah, blah. So, I really liked it. It felt like everything I wanted out of a mid-cardy tag teamy match, on a first show.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was really good in-ring work. I enjoyed myself. I was ready to move on. No big deal.
Only negative thing I had to say about it is Evans and Angelico need to get like better ring gear or like come down on dirt bikes, because like that was terrible. Like that it looked very, very indie for being on such a big deal show. They're going to be on like TNT. They need to sort out the gear, because that gear was bad.
Well, we'll see what direction they go in.
And as far as the women go, the AEW did sign Sadie Gibbs, so she's now part of the roster. And we neglected to mention that Leva Bates is also there, who the librarian. So you do have a couple other women on the roster who are going to be regulars, and then of course Brandy. So that's another 3 women who are part of the regulars on the roster. So, I see it likely that as some contracts start coming up in other companies, that they'll keep making acquisitions of more talent for the women's division. But these ones that they have right now who haven't got to wrestle yet will be an added bit to the roster.
Yep. So match 6, you had the import match. Basically, this is the 6 women's tag match. And this was kind of introduced the American market to these people. The hardcore wrestling fans, like the really hardcore fans, know most of them. The moderately hardcore fans know at least of Aja Kong.
Yep.
And her legacy over in Japan and everything. And this really was just kind of like it was a 13-minute. Really well done match. I do have to say, like, I was worried watching Aja Kong come down to the ring.
Mm-hmm.
She could barely move. I'm like, she barely get up on the apron. I'm like, good Lord, how's she gonna work this match? God damn it, she worked the match. And it looked, she still has that first step, and she's got that power and snap in her moves.
Yep. So
it was something to see. All the girls worked really hard in this match. This was the bell match. Unfortunately, it kind of took a little bit of wind out of the sails towards the end. They had to go back and it really killed their finish a little bit. But the crowd, kudos to the crowd. They tried to stay in it, and they really enjoyed this. And Yuka Sakazaki, man, I had not really seen much of her.
Yeah.
I hope she's kind of like a fixture in AEW. She's really good, man.
She is
really good.
Yep.
Like, so yeah, you had all your standard spots, all your multiple 6-man tag spots, and you had your 2 big people square off, 2 power people, and you had lots of combo moves, and it was just, again, another just, all right, I'm just gonna go along for the ride. There's no real story here, but we'll just kind of enjoy the match. And they put on a very enjoyable in-ring product.
Absolutely. This was the match, I think probably this one and maybe the SCU match, but more so this one were the matches I think a lot of your fans who aren't super familiar with the overseas product were thinking were going to be like the weak points of the evening. But I think they did a fantastic job. I think with exception of the timekeeper bell ringing issues, I think it was fantastic.
Not the talent's fault.
Yep.
So that moves us to where I get to say I was right. Did I nail this? We got the match we deserved, and they got the match they deserved. Mm-hmm. Cody and Dustin, and good Lord.
Yep.
Good night now. Like, I thought this could be a show stealer.
Mm-hmm.
I knew how bad these guys wanted it. And you listen to them talk and how much it was going to mean to them and how they never got the WrestleMania matches they wanted. And the program in WWE just it was nothing like they envisioned it. And their best work, we didn't really get to see. It happened on the European tour that wasn't televised. It was, they really pulled it together and they figured it out. And that's why they wanted to really give the fans what they felt they could. And Vince just never let it happen. Well, God damn it, we got it, and they got it because they stole the show.
Sure did.
And this is a match of the year contender. I think we're going to spend a little time on this match because there's so much. There's so much, not just with the match being as good as it was, but it shows the glaring deficiencies of WWE. This I cannot understand. I cannot overstate how much it shows how poorly the talent is used over there. Okay.
Yep.
Yes, they almost lost me. This was the camera. I lost my stuff. Absolutely I was pissed. I was angry. And I thought it was going to just ruin the match for me.
Watching come from the left side.
Just come out and be up the chair.
They got the wrong entrance.
They got the wrong entrance again.
Yeah, they did! They did! They fucking did!
Alright.
I was just trying to
You can't do that!
I was just joking.
Oh my god! You can't do that! That's
Bush League is fucked.
that's fucking this.
Well, being that they keep doing it,
God damn! Like,
some
you
kind of
can't.
creative
I'm
decision.
sorry. I'm
That's
gonna lose
also
my
fair.
shit, and
Yeah.
that's event production and me driving me fucking
It's
nuts.
amateur fucking
Like-
Bush League shit.
That's like. Sorry. They gave you. Sorry.
I'm all worked up, dang it.
Well, I sat back and I
She
bumped
changed
up.
gear. That's so cool. I like this gear more.
And Cody comes out and he does the they have the throne. It looks kind of like a Triple H throne. Goes down to the ringside with Brandy, goes under the apron. Brandy pulls out a sledgehammer, gives it to him. Troll level 1000, achievement unlocked. Bam, takes the sledgehammer. You're like, clearly this is a dig at Triple H. He called the company a pissant company at the Hall of Fame.
Yep.
Okay, pissant. It's just a t-shirt company, huh? So takes the sledgehammer up to the throne and gives it a good whack. And the pyro goes off and it kind of falls apart and pops and the crowd goes crazy. Yep. Absolutely crazy. And they cut back to Brandy and she's screaming, "Bring it down."
Mm-hmm.
And it's a great moment in and of itself. It's a great moment. Goes back down, finishes his entrance, gets in the ring. Dustin. We get Dustin. The natural Dustin Rhodes.
Yep.
He did do the half and half.
Sure did.
That's the look. It was fine.
Worked out really well in this match.
Well, half his face was painted for about 6 minutes, and then his whole face was painted.
Yep.
Good Lord! So the match did start slowly, okay, and there was a lot of Dusty chants, lot of chants, Dusty's favorite, really good stuff. The match did start kind of slow, okay, and there was a botch very early on. They end up out of the ring. Cody does the dive. They end up out of the ring. He tells people to move, and he's going to run Dustin. It's supposed to get reversed, and Dustin's supposed to do like kind of a jump up flip, spin under the bottom rope, and then come back out and kick Cody, right?
Yeah.
And Dustin botched it, and so Cody hits him with a couple of shots, tells people to move again, like he's going to try and do whatever he did again. Dustin reverses it and hits it. Okay, and the announcers, credit to them, cover for him, went to the well one too many times.
Mm-hmm.
From that point in that match, it was okay. It was a slow start, but it was not bad. From that point in that match to the end, that thing was on fire. It was like botching that and having it not be the end of the world knocked all the nerves out of those guys.
Mm-hmm.
Not the emotion, but the nerves. And they worked their asses off.
Yep.
And Dustin bled like his dad would have been proud.
Well, he mentions taking a Spanish fly in the match is something that he's never done before, and like how excited he was that he actually, it was a little bit wonky, he landed a bit on the side, but he was like taking that, in the match, something I've never done before, something I really wanted to do, and he said that helped shake some of those nerves as well, and then he was bleeding like crazy. I know that's where you were going.
Woo!
We were debating, we were talking about whether or not, he went for a second blade job later in the match. But according to Dustin, he just couldn't stop bleeding, and he was bleeding way more than he wanted to. And it sounds like Cody was trying to convince him to like go home, and he's like, no, this is what we've been fighting for.
Oh.
This is our WrestleMania, and we're gonna give the fans everything we got. So.
It looks.
You gotta appreciate.
It looks like he hit an artery. In his interview, he said that he got opened up. He sold it. He said he got opened up when Brandy hit him.
Mm-hmm.
Hit him with a cane, and Brandy did get involved in the match.
Yep.
Threw water in his face, hit him, speared him, and finally, when he speared him, Earl Hebner, good old Earl, tossed her. She wouldn't leave. DDP comes down, grabs her, carries her out.
Love DDP.
And it was a great, old school wrestling spot. Kicked the manager out, free pop. But Dustin was busted open.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, he must have nicked a small artery, because every time he moved, it just pulsed blood out of his head. Mm-mm. And I mean, he would wipe it out of his eye, and it was instantly back.
Similar to Austin and Hart from WrestleMania.
Yeah. And it is, and we were sitting there with Josh, and it's one of those moments where, as the match continued, it changed the tenor of the match, and he did. He's like, color will do that. It'll change the match. And he, I mean, we all know that as fans, right? Like, but this was one of those moments we hadn't seen blood like that in a long time.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I don't watch like CZW and stuff. I'm not a big hardcore wrestling fan junkie. That's not, I like a good hardcore match once in a while. When the feud is right and the time is right, but I don't like glass tubes just for glass tubes' sake, and I just, it doesn't do it for me. Okay, not my thing. Okay, it's more of a like circus show than a wrestling program to me. So it's not like I'm watching a lot of those extreme outlaw, heavy, hardcore, extreme matches.
Yep.
So I haven't seen somebody bleed like this in a while, let alone like a guy he's a Hall of Famer. Okay. We talked about this on the old podcast, Bob, years ago, 3-4 years ago or whatever, when Jericho came back to the WWE, and he took the tack bump.
Yep.
Right. Jericho doesn't need to take a tack bump.
Nope.
Like, Jericho just doesn't need to take a tack bump. He doesn't need to do that, but he did it to put the other guy over and make the match more important.
Yep.
Okay. And he, tack bump sucks. Like, you got tacks in your back, sucks. But you don't bleed like this. Like again, it's been probably at least 10 years since anybody's seen any blood like this at a major level.
There was, and I can't remember what match. It was one match. I want to say it was in New Japan. And it could be because I remember seeing that Bret Hart Austin shot where the guy's in a submission hold and he's going for the ropes and he's just blood squirting out of his forehead. But I don't remember what match it was. I just remember seeing it, and it was. I'm pretty sure a New Japan show, because it definitely wasn't WWE. But
now I don't want to say we haven't seen any blood,
mm-hmm.
but I mean this was just next level. Like you
Yeah.
said, like Earl and Cody were basically like, Dustin, we need to go home.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is, and Dustin was like, no.
Yeah.
And we're gonna finish this match.
Yep.
And he was there and he was present, and it added to the match. I haven't seen a crowd that invested in ages. Like there were women crying.
Yep.
And like people were
like,
just
yeah,
shocked.
Go back and just watch the crowd through the match. I mean, there were if you just look at the faces of the people in the crowd, it is that in itself is pretty mind blowing.
Yeah, it was really stunning, and you know they did some exchanges. You know, they did some back and forth, some Stardusty stuff. You know, kind of mocking each other. Cody used some of Dustin's signature moves. They teased Shattered Dreams. Yeah, like I mean, some fan got the most incredible take home present ever when Cody peeled one of the turnbuckles off and it wound up in the ring. Dustin picked it up and looked at it and was just like, okay. And then you realize, okay, there's a turnbuckle exposed. He threw the turnbuckle pad into the crowd.
Yeah.
That's history, yo. Like, yep. I mean, like somebody in that crowd got to take home a turnbuckle pad from Cody v. Dustin at Double or Nothing.
Yeah.
Like, how awesome is that? So, it took two crossroads, and Cody wins, and it looks like Dustin's going to retire, and he's unlacing his boots, and Cody comes back and says that he signed his name to a contract for a tag team match in Jacksonville against the Young Bucks, and he needed a partner, but he didn't need a partner, and he didn't need a friend, but he needed his older brother. Yep. It was very corny but it worked because it led to this giant feel-good moment after this amazing match and all this blood. And I mean, the spot where, like, when he's first bleeding, Cody realizes he's like busted this bad, and there's already pools of blood.
Yeah,
pools of blood. He dips his hand in one of the pools and wipes it across the dream tattoo.
Yep.
And it's just perfect. It's a perfect moment, man. Like that is ring psychology, storytelling, and just everything that I want in a match of this magnitude.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, the storytelling on all levels. I mean, even at the weigh-in with Dustin showing up with Dusty's favorite T-shirt, I'm
shirt.
like, oh my god, like that. That's building that feud in a way that WB just doesn't do anymore. It's definitely what I want to see from my wrestling product. And it was simple, and it didn't take a bunch of time. They didn't have to cut like a 20-minute promo to get that across. Like, he just showed up in that T-shirt, and it was obvious.
Yeah, they got 22 and a half minutes. They told an amazing story. Like I said, this. If I right now, if you're asking me for match of the year contenders, this is in that list of 4 or 5 matches that need to be considered.
I'd say so.
I mean, I'm trying to think. This Gargano, Cole, 2 out of 3 falls. Mm-hmm. Walter Pete Dunne, both on the same card, by the way, both on the NXT show.
Yep.
Both of those were just
Okada Jay White at G1 Supercard.
Okada Jay White. I would put, and I know it's a niche one, but I would definitely put it in there. Minoru Suzuki, Josh Barnett at Bloodsport. Just like, this belongs in that conversation. It was damn good, man. Like, it's one of the best things I've seen in a long time. It felt like I was watching real wrestling again. Things mattered, stories mattered, juice, a little bit of color, a whole lot of color in this change.
Yeah.
In this case, it changed the match. And we learned that AEW is not going to be afraid to have a little bit of color. I don't think, obviously, that was not the plan. that there was going to be a little bit of color.
Yeah.
One of the funniest tweets of the ensuing days was somebody tweeted at Jim Cornette, and he retweeted it. After watching the match, all he could hear was Dusty after Cornette bladed and almost got lost in their TV deal on TBS. The network was really angry because of the amount of blood. And Cornette came backstage, and Dusty was waiting for him. He said, "I said a little color, kid, a little color." Go listen. Cornette tells the story. It's if you Google Jim Cornette blading, it'll come up, and he talks about like how guys blade and things like that. And that's towards the end of that clip on his official YouTube page. And he talks about, Dusty giving him a little bit of like, whoa, because he was like, it was a cold building, and I got myself once, and I didn't feel anything coming, so I went again, and all four of them came at once, and I was bleeding like a pig. And I was like, man, it's just one of those funny things. So that's all I was hearing in my head, and I was thinking, Dusty bleeding in bleeding in the cage in what is it, 86.
Yep.
He would have been proud. Hats off to both those guys. So, man.
I thought it was match of the night. I mean, I've heard that from most people, like that was the match of the night.
Match of the night.
Yep.
Like they killed it. Young Bucks and Lucha Brothers. 24, just shy of 25 minutes.
Yep.
And they told the story, the Bucks were rusty. This was the only title match on the card. It was for the AAA tag team titles. We kind of expected Lucha Brothers were going to go over.
Yeah.
The Bucks did win.
But after the Bucks won, we did find out that AAA is having their rematch on TV in like June 16th, 18th, something like that, like right around Father's Day. And I'm like, oh, well, that's the reason why AAA wants that viewership for that rematch.
Well, we all said that as soon as we happened, we were like, oh, the Bucks won. Well, that's a little bit of a surprise. And then we all kind of looked at each other. It's like, well, AAA probably wants the rematch for the ratings, because
I'm sure Triple H wants that rematch too. Well, but yeah,
Triple A. That was me saying rematch and Triple. That was not me thinking of. I'm sure Triple H would want that rematch. Triple A wants that rematch for the ratings. Now that I can speak in full sentences, so I was like, when you think of it like that, it's not that surprising. We kind of thought maybe they would change it back. The Lucha Brothers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Young Bucks took the titles on their home turf, and then Lucha Brothers take it back, and then you can have the blow-off match in Mexico where Lucha Brothers just retain. But it'll mean more, and it'll also, it'll be a big get over when now that they've lost two, they got to get over a hump.
Yep.
And obviously Bucks are going to go down to Mexico and be heel. So it's I mean, they want those ratings. I think the star of the match was Phoenix. Good Lord, that spot he did. I can't just go watch the match. I'm not even gonna. There was a spot where he worked both the Bucks at the same time, and he walked the ropes and did some, and it was flippy in all the best possible ways and believable.
Yep.
And it looked great. And it was, I mean, all these guys were great. They're all over. The crowd loves all of them. There was dueling chants. What can you say? I mean, you got the Pentagon arm breaker spot. And then you got the one arm Meltzer driver to kind of secure the win, selling the injury. So how long do you think that injury gets sold? 6 months?
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. I don't know if they need to be selling an injury 6 months at the start of the company. I mean, if anyone can do it, those guys can. But I think we'll see it. It'd be pretty well cleared up between now and All Out in Chicago. That's at least my perspective on it. I think they want everybody to go in like at full strength into that show that starts TV, and if they have to be hindered by slowing things down to sell an injury, then that could take down the overall athleticism in the match.
Yeah. I think it'll move on. There'll be some selling, but I mean, 25 minutes of just awesome tag team wrestling, more chance. I did skip over an apologies between the two matches when they were changing out the canvas. Good Lord. They did have the world title presentation, the AEW World Championship presentation, and it was presented by Bret Hart. Oh man, I love Bret Hart, but that was a little rough. Like that, this may be the roughest part. Like, I mean, MJF comes out, cuts a great promo.
Yep.
They set out Jungle Boy Jimmy Havoc, and they kind of, it turns into a schmoz and whatnot, because Bret Hart calls out Hangman, and he botches his promo. Bret Hart, and it's one of those, Bret Hart has enough goodwill with the fans, like nobody chanted at him.
Yep.
Like it's still Bret Hart. He did cover it up a little bit, like he knew he botched it and fixed it, and so he calls Hangman out, and they're going to do the title presentation. MJF comes out, cuts a promo, then you have Jimmy Havoc come out, you have Jungle Boy come out, and that kind of shows where everybody's gonna kind of slot on the card. There's a schmoz, and Bret Hart takes the belt out and doesn't get a good shot on hard cam. Oh God! Like,
well,
this and
not only that, but it seems because Cody tweeted out later, none of the executive vice presidents had gumption enough to get any photography of the new title, and they had to use like some video footage they had of it that were going to be used for a package. So there's little stuff of that nature, but it seems like they managed to solve that on Sunday at Starrcast.
The title, it looks IWGP-esque.
Yep.
It came out, fairly quickly after. It was modeled more after the Mid-South North American Championship, which is, Tony Khan has said many, many, many times he used a Mid-South mark. It's one of his favorite pro wrestling promotions ever.
And of course, Cody was a WCW mark, and so it definitely looks like a fusion of those two belts.
So it does have this weird hybrid-y feature. It's got a lot of features of the IWGP with a little bit of the big gold belt and the Mid-South. It's got kind of the Mid-South color. Under the lights, I will say this, under the lights, the way it was being shot, and some of this is just, they were trying to get a good shot of it.
Yeah.
And they were trying every camera angle, and Bret just was not cooperating. It looks a little gaudy, but now they did take some pictures of it.
Yeah.
And they posted some really good pictures of it, and it looks way better up close.
Yep.
And that's something I think when they're shooting it on TV and it's a tight shot, it's going to look good. Okay. The belt looks good.
And I think it's going to look good around someone's waist. I mean, it's got that, with the multiple plates going down, and the large size of it. In fact, here in the studio directly in front of me is a photo of Kenny Omega rocking the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. And it looks really good on the guy wearing it. Where other belts that everybody considers like some of the most beautiful of all time, like the Winged Eagle, kind of lost something when the guy had it around his waist. It looked fantastic when they had it raised above their head, or when you seen it separated. But when they were wearing it, it just you didn't get to see the detail in it. So
I am and have been and always will be partial to the big gold belt. That's my favorite championship belt. It probably always will be. But this one is, I have to say, I really like it a lot. It's definitely up there. And I'll give credit where credit's due. Like, I like the new WWE like the heavyweight strap, the new one with the new WWE logo. I like it. It's not great. It's not my favorite, but I like it. Less of a fan of the Universal title.
So my problem with both of those belts, is it's just a giant logo in the center of it, and my favorite belts really have downplayed that logo. I mean, the IWGP World Heavyweight title had the IWGP logo in the IWGP in the center, but it's the same color as the rest of the belt. It doesn't like over, you're not putting the company over before you're putting over the title. Same with like the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. You didn't have a giant WCW logo on that. I never really was a fan of the WWE belts that really focused on putting that logo front and center. Like the NXT, I like the original NXT belt better than their new one with all the diamonds in it, with the NXT like all glittery and diamonds. I kind of like the understated look where the detail is in the craftsmanship of the belt, not necessarily in like the colors and popping a logo or a design with a ton of stones. And I also can't stand the fact that the WWE one has the negative space, where it's that logo and then it's just negative space to the strap behind it. It just irritates the crap out of me. But
Yeah.
I really like the AEW Championship. I think it is a beautiful belt.
Yeah, I see in a lot of that. Just everybody's got personal tastes. I do like the new WWE World Championship. I'm not a big fan of the red strap.
I think one of the other problems I have with the WWE World Championship is that it is the exact same belt as the Universal Championship, the Raw Women's Championship, and the SmackDown Women's Championship. They're all the same belt with different colors.
And that's another argument. But like when they introduced the updated title, that was kind of the first one, but it's WWE's also produced my least favorite belts in history.
Yeah.
The 24/7, and you know what? The 24/7 title isn't even my most hated belt in history.
Mm-hmm.
The spinner belt is my most. I absolutely detested the spinner belt.
Did you hate the original spinner belt or the Rated R Superstar spinner belt more?
Anything with a spin on it should not exist. So
I just never understood why I get why they came up with it for John Cena. It was his gimmick. He had the spinner US title, which I loved the spinner US title. I thought if it didn't spin, it would have been better, but I liked the design, the round with all the diamonds. I thought it looked really nice. But then they gave him a world title. It spun. It said champ on it because he did the champ is here. I'm like, okay, they'll go with his gimmick. What I never figured out is why Edge and CM Punk and like all these other wrestlers had to hold that ugly ass belt. That's where it killed it for me. I'm fine with Austin having a Smoking Skull belt or The Rock having a Brown Bull belt. Guys having custom belts is fine. Daniel Bryan's belt was amazing, but you can't have them lose it to somebody else where it no longer fits the gimmick.
That's where you lose me, Bob. Yep. Like custom belt, like I am not a fan of custom belts. I don't like the Daniel Bryan belt. I don't like the Rock belt. I really, really hate the spinner belt. Like I am not a fan of the only time that there should be a custom belt is it shouldn't be for the like where you're changing the world title. If you want a custom belt, do something like like the $1 Million Championship, where it's just you're going to create this title because you're so rich, and that's a part of your gimmick. Right?
So how did you feel about Cody when he won the Intercontinental Championship, customizing that to look more like the retro IC Championship?
Like there's a history there. Mm-hmm. So like if you're retroing a belt, like I'm more okay with that. Like if there's a reason for it, but I don't want you to customize it to your gimmick. You know what I mean?
I also prefer when a heel does it. Like I really like Daniel Bryan doing it because it got over his like vegan gimmick, and he's like, I'm being a hypocrite and I'm not carrying this around and I'm going to have my own belt. And I like it when a heel does it, because when a heel does it, you can justify it by saying, well, they don't care about the lineage or the history of that belt. It's just a trinket to them, where when a babyface does it, they should care more about the title.
Yeah. So I mean, there's arguments for it. I'm not a fan. So, to round out Double or Nothing, Chris Jericho, Kenny Omega. Sometimes fans bother me.
People, what a bunch of bastards.
Like, people losing their minds because Omega lost.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, you beat Kenny Omega on your first show ever. He's up. Oh, I can't believe that. Okay, Omega Marks, take a breath. He didn't lose to Jungle Boy.
Yeah.
No offense, Jungle Boy. He lost to Jericho.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, like, he beat Jericho. Like, they're 1-1.
Mm-hmm.
Do you not see what's going to happen here? Like,
yep.
Kenny's going to chase
mm-hmm.
and chase and chase. And in a year, when he goes over Jericho to win the title, everybody's
yep.
going to lose their
well,
stuff.
People are already losing their shit over the fact that they're like, oh, well, they're going to start TV with Omega being 0-2 in the company because he's going to lose to Moxley when they face off too, because they're going to want to get Moxley over in his first match with the company. So you're going to have an 0-2 Kenny Omega going into TV. That's not good for anybody. I'm like, when is the last time Kenny Omega has lost two big high profile matches in a row? Like, going into TV with the story of Kenny Omega saying, "Hey, I came into this this company and I wanted to be first world champion. I couldn't get that done, and then I lost to this other guy who just showed up, and I'm a former IWGP world champion, and I've lost these matches, and I have to be hungry again." You can go that story, and it can be fantastic. I mean, they could also just put Kenny Omega over Moxley if they wanted to. I mean, it's not set in stone, and so to be poo-pooing on something before it happens is completely pointless.
Let's not act like they can't just have like, I'm not saying they're going to use a lot of schmazes, but with Moxley being as unstable as he is, like, let's not act like one of these guys couldn't get disqualified or something.
Let's not act like freaking like. It might not be just a regular match, and Moxley might end up, getting disqualified, or they both get counted out because they're fighting on the outside, or CM Punk shows up in Chicago and beats them both up. I mean, there's so many different things that could happen here.
CM Punk to AEW quadruple confirmed.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, fans, I think, need to take a breath. Guys at the top of the card are going to have to lose. Like, that's the other thing. None of these matches did finish in a schmaz. Like, they finished, there was schmazzy stuff afterwards, but the matches all had clear winners and losers.
Absolutely.
Wins and losses matter, folks.
Sure do.
All right, but taking a loss from Jericho, who's an all-time great, who he already has a win over, not a big deal. This is not, like, going to hurt. This is not just an arbitrary loss. This is setting up future feud.
Yep.
So they got 27 minutes. It was a slow building match. Like, it really ramped up, and I liked the pacing. Jericho, I mean, we're seeing really high level heel Jericho.
Yeah.
Oh,
I loved his entrance, like the Jericho through the years. Where the different versions of Jericho kept coming out, like, that was awesome. And we didn't know, like, so we seen the Lion Tamer stuff, and we're like, wait, he's going with the gimmicks, and then, like, the light goes off, and it cuts to, like, the list, and we're like, wait, no, like, they're just gonna go through his whole career. This is awesome. Like, we didn't know at first, and I love that surprise factor. It's something that's been missing from WWE for so long that it's amazing to have that in so many different ways in AEW.
And apparently that was a Cody idea. Cody came up with that entrance. So kudos. It was a really good entrance. Yeah, I don't know why Omega fans, the Omega marks, just are losing their minds. So it's 1-1. We're going to get a blow-off match.
Yep.
Yeah, it puts Kenny Kenny fighting from underneath. What if he does lose to Moxley? He's got 2 losses in a row, and then he goes on a crazy win streak for 8 months, and he's chasing the title. What's wrong with that? And then eventually you get him. I mean, they act like Jericho kicked out of 3 one-winged angels or something.
I think the problem is that so many of these people who are the big Kenny Omega fans are also the people who are doing web pages and podcasts and things, and who were adamant that the reason that Pac left AEW is because he was going to beat Page and Kenny was going to beat Jericho, and they were going to face off, and Kenny was going to win the championship, and Pac didn't want to lose. And because that's the story that they bought into, when Kenny didn't win, all of a sudden it's like the end of the world, and it really isn't. And I don't for a minute, as we discussed with Josh, and as I've mentioned online a bunch, I still feel that this Pac thing is probably something to do with a visa issue or some kind of inner workings with Dragon Gate, and it doesn't have anything to do with the creative differences between him and AEW. I think this is something else. But yeah, so Are we ready to talk about what happened after the match?
Yeah. It was a really good match. The crowd was a little dead. Not awful. It wasn't just flat, but it felt more like a Japan crowd.
Yeah.
Like they got into it towards the end, but it was pretty quiet for the first quarter to half of the match. And then it really built and escalated. Jericho wins with his new move, the spinning back elbow, the Judas effect, wins clean, cuts promo. We all figured we were getting a promo. He wanted to be thanked. This is his company. He's not leaving till he gets thank yous from everybody. He sends somebody out to give him his thank you. Yep. Right? He's cutting the promo, facing the audience. All of a sudden you hear like a roar start off into, you can hear part of the crowd starting to get loud, and then the camera cuts, and here comes Jon Moxley, aka Dean Ambrose, aka shit kicking motherfucker.
Yep.
Like, holy crap. And it looks like this is what Dean Ambrose was supposed to be.
Yeah.
Before he was neutered by Vince McMahon, and comes through the crowd, down the stairs, and it just gets louder and louder and louder. And then they put it up on the camera on the screens in the building, and everybody knows what's going on. And it just pops. It blows the roof off it. And Jericho thinks, cells up, they're popping for me.
Yep.
And Moxley gets in the ring, and Jericho turns around. He's kind of stunned. He's like, Miles, what are you doing here? And Moxley's just kind of doing his thing and whatever. And there's a little bit of an exchange. And then Moxley kicks him and hits the double underhook DDT, whatever we're calling that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's not Dirty Deeds anymore, I'm assuming, but hits Jericho. The crowd pops, goes crazy. The ref gets in and is like, you can't do that, you got to get out. Kicks the ref, double underhook DDT, bam, crowd pops again. Yep. And then Kenny, who by the way worked 3/4 of that match with a broken nose.
Yeah.
Like there was a little bit of color in this match. Hardway had a broken nose in that Jericho match. Took the broken nose, just looked like on a stiff kick or something. It happens. It's not ballet, right?
Yep.
But credit to him, he worked that whole match with a broken nose. And if you've ever had a broken nose, you know how hard it is to deal with that, not working a 25-minute wrestling match.
Yeah.
And Kenny gets up and realizes Jon Moxley's in the ring, and him and Jon Moxley decide to do some business. And they brawl all the way out and up and over to the poker chips. And then he gets the double underhook. Kenny gets the double underhook DDT on the poker chips, and then gets thrown off onto the splat box down below.
Yep.
And great spot. Moxley standing on the poker chips at the end of the show. crowd going crazy. And there's your big reveal. So it looks like we're going to get an Omega Moxley program. We're going to get Paige Jericho for the title at a date to be determined. Everybody's assuming All Out, which was announced August 31st in Chicago. Tickets on sale the 14th of June.
Hotel room already booked.
There you go. Brother Bob is on it. So and then Starcast 3 obviously in conjunction with that. So Moxley made his debut. That's a big one.
He cut a backstage promo that aired on their I think it might be on YouTube now. It's definitely, they put it up on Twitter, like a 15-second type promo, and did more in that time than WWE does in a 20-minute opening segment to Raw. So that just shows how much he was held back in that company. I really hope that at some point we get interaction between Moxley and Jericho like complains that Moxley still owes him for the jacket he destroyed. And I really hope that Moxley also is like, hits Jericho with the dirty deeds and is like, that's for Mitch, because, both of those things would be fantastic.
That meme was going around about where Jericho's like, what are you doing here? And he's like, I showed up to wrestle. And then it cuts back to Jericho's like, you stole me $15,000 for that jacket. I was dying, dying. It's I mean, overall, this show was a wild success. There was a lot in it to like. We did get Tales of the Tape. Time limits, Bob! We got time limits!
Oh, so nice.
Oh, I loved it.
And they explained the tag team rules as well. They explained that they get 10 seconds to leave the ring, and it's referee discretion, and that is fantastic because unlike other companies where they tell you the rules and then completely ignore them later, this they explained it right out the gate, so that way there was nobody asking any questions. And I think that was well done as well. I hope that they continue to do that and continue to stay true to whatever rule set they put out, unlike their competition.
Speaking of other companies that can't get things done in 20 minutes and don't have rules, Bob. So transparency. I tried to watch live. I failed. I didn't even make it through seg 1. I made it about 10 minutes into the first segment, and I punched out when Brock was dancing in the ring. I was like, okay, I'm done.
Brock Lesnar is officially the "Hello, fellow kids" meme. That's Brock Lesnar now, and it's terrible.
It's awful. They've turned one of the most intimidating, scary, like over guys into humor. How do you turn Brock Lesnar humorous? Well, they did it. And what I said to you before the show, I stand firm, at least on the Hulu version, because that's the one I watched. I went back and I sucked it up this morning, and I watched the Hulu version where they condensed the 3 hours of crap into a nice, tidy 90 minutes of super compact shit. and I said that the opening segment was 20 minutes too long, and it was only 17 minutes.
Yeah.
So
and
that's how
it's a sad day when you have Paul Heyman out there in a segment and the segment feels terrible and too long.
Just awful.
Yeah.
Many places have brought up the fact, and it holds true even on the Hulu version. Well, it was an hour and 15 before you got like a real match.
Mm-hmm.
You had the Shane McMahon beatdown of Roman Reigns' cousin to set up a Shane McMahon Roman Reigns match, which Shane, and I'm telling you, Shane, anytime he throws a punch, I can't handle it. It's so his punches are terrible. His punches are awful. And it's funny. His punches are awful, and then he throws a spinning back elbow.
Yeah.
And it looks really good.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's like this guy knows how to strike. Why is he throwing the anyway? So you get one little Shane McMahon match that lasts 2 minutes or whatever, and then you don't get any more wrestling for over an hour, and then you get your first real match is the Iconics versus Becky Lynch and Nikki Cross. And this was a very mediocre at best match where your tag team champions lose because you have your world champion in the match. So you have the again, tag teams don't matter. Elite tag teams don't exist. A single can beat an elite tag team as long as they have a partner. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't. Why was this even a match? Why? I don't even need to see this crap. Put the Iconics in with somebody else that they could be clean and build and look good.
Yeah.
I don't care. And then you get more garbage and more talking and bad. So on the Hulu version, it was 45 minutes into the Hulu version before you got wrestling.
Yeah.
And then you get a little bit of wrestling that isn't very good, and then you get the Firefly experience. Which the only way this could be good, the only way that this can be saved is if the payoff is Bray Wyatt is so sadistic and so crazy and goes on the most insane winning streak ever. That's the only way this is like good, right? Like he's got to be like serial killer level like crazy, and that's not going to happen. So what's the payoff? He's, they introduced what is he calling it? It's not what is it? The clown thing. He called it something, and I don't even remember because it wasn't the demon. It was the something, and it makes him all strong and safe and fuzzy. I'm like, this is terrible. Why are they wasting Bray Wyatt? I hate this show. Fuck you, Vince McMahon. Like, you suck.
Well, apparently all the stuff Bray's doing, this is his baby, and he's coming up with this. So,
look, he's trying to get screen time, man. He's trying to do something because nothing else works. Like, when he did really awesome high level, like old Bray Wyatt, he lost, 5 out of 6 matches on pay-per-views. He would lose 5 matches in a row on pay-per-view. He had his one little short abbreviated title run that didn't mean anything like all the other title runs back then. Look, like, you do what you can when you're in WWE to try and get over. Apparently Vince McMahon likes what he sees because Bray's getting airtime every week, which is more that can be said. It's more than can be said about really awesome things like the Revival.
Yeah.
Okay. Like,
and I mean, part of the problem with it is that he's not wrestling. If he was wrestling, I mean, and once again, we'll look back, talk about Mick Foley. So the Dude Love character was goofy, right? And, cringy as the Firefly Funhouse stuff that Bray was doing before he became the clown. It was equally cringy, but frickin' he'd go out there and he'd put on a Mick Foley match and beat the crap out of Stone Cold Steve Austin after doing that. And so it had a payoff. Like, what the payoff for this, like, with how much time they put into it, he needs to be like stuck into a world title match and win it. Like, that's the kind of payoff they need to justify how much time they put into it already.
And that's not going to happen. So you do get one of the two wrestling related positive things on the card. You get the 4-way where they remove AJ and they insert the mid card of doom that is Baron Corbin. And it's Baron Corbin, Bobby Lashley, Braun Strowman, and The Miz. The match was
in an elimination match.
Okay.
Let's not forget it's an elimination match.
In a fatal 4-way elimination match. So when you're pinned, you're eliminated, last man standing wins.
Yep.
So this is not one fall to a finish. This is an elimination match, allegedly. And
how many falls were there in the match?
There was one fall in the match. So
hashtag extremely confusing rules.
Kudos to Lashley and Strowman. Working a big man match. Lashley's another one. He's so good. Like, he really is. I mean, he looks amazing. He works smaller than he is, like, in terms of his his athleticism and his agility, and he's still just a huge monster. Strowman is doing Strowman things, but it seems like he's doing Strowman things at 80%. I don't think it's an injury or anything like. I think he's just learned that he can go 80% because most of this is meaningless. It just feels like that. I mean, it still looks okay. It doesn't look as good as, I'm not finished with you or get these hands. Like, he was going all out. And now it seems like he's dialed it back to like a 7.
Mm-hmm.
He was up at 11, and now he's back at a 7. It's still good. Miz working from underneath the entire match, selling comebacks, and Baron Corbin doing Baron Corbin things, which is being a mediocre guy that Vince is in love with. So you have Lashley and Strowman, and this gets to the one fall. Lashley and Strowman battle their way out of the arena, through the crowd and out of the arena. No count out, no indication. The ref kind of watches them go, and Miz makes a comeback on Baron Corbin. And he's making the comeback and running across the ring and hitting him, and he goes like the third or fourth time to do it, and Corbin comes out and hits him with end of days 1, 2, 3. So Baron Corbin is now your number 1 contender, and so he will face Seth Rollins at the Super Crap Show in Saudi Arabia. Yep. So mid-card of doom.
Which I'm okay with, because that's what they get for being, bastards and murderers. They can have Baron Corbin in a world title match. Fuck them.
So we get another Brock promo at some point in here. Again, on the Hulu version, where we realize yet again, like Brock told us.
Why would I watch it, Paul?
Yeah, he doesn't watch the show. He has no idea what's going on. Brock discovered that he has a year to cash in the Money in the Bank contract, and tells him, Seth Rollins, screw you, and walks out.
Yep.
So we don't know when Brock's going to cash in, because the reason Brock was teasing cashing in is because he was so stupid that he didn't realize that he could wait to cash in.
I really wish they just would have went like all in. Like they went half in on stupid. They should have just went all in and had him be like, "See you at Mania," and then walk out. Like, I mean, I would have actually popped for that, because it just fits what Brock Lesnar does. He shows up for the freaking big shows, and that's it. Yeah. And I don't know. Like, I don't know. It's I feel like we're not going to see a whole lot of him anyway over the year. I don't think he's got a contract that's going to lend itself to him being around much, which, is why it's such a disappointment him having that briefcase, because part of the fun of the briefcase is that it can be cashed in at any time, and nobody's going to believe Brock's going to be there.
Well, you get him leaving, but he showed up twice in a show now, which is like extraordinary. Okay.
Yeah, he's almost hit his quota for the year.
And then, and then we roll into more Vince Russo booking. You get the electric chair. It's a wooden chair with a bunch of straps in it, and it looks like it has wires supposedly, and it's sitting in the middle of the ring, and there's Graves and Sami Zayn. And they're going to put Sami Zayn in the electric chair, and he won't be able to tell a lie.
Is it hooked up to a lie detector?
No.
Is he strapped into it so he can't get up?
No.
Is there any cords running to plugs that is plugged in?
Let me preempt you. Anything you are about to ask me, the question is no. Because they don't explain how it's going to keep him honest. It's not hooked to anything. It's an electric chair.
Was it attached to a giant switch inside a steel cage?
The scary part is now that match is no longer the worst and most egregious use of an electric chair in pro wrestling.
Well, Abdullah will be happy to know that.
Yeah, he no longer holds that title. So the House of Chamber of whatever.
Chamber of Horrors.
Chamber of Horrors back. That was a Halloween Havoc match,
Yes.
wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, terrible.
Yep.
Steiner.
When
Was it
when the
Steiner's
switch fell down on its own and
just
yeah,
awful.
before they
Just-
even had the right guy in the chair and just
At
terrible.
least there, Bob. At least there was wrestling around that electric chair.
At least they like kayfabe. The chair was hooked to
They
something.
kayfabe the chair, and it made like impressive sounds and
Yeah.
stuff. No, this is just a big wooden chair that Sammy decided to set in, and its magical Hogwarts powers is going to prevent him from lying. And they're gonna take questions from fans in the crowd.
I said on social media that it would have been a more compelling electric chair if it would move the electric chair. It would be more believable that if he lied, somebody would drop him in an electric chair than this, like him being sitting in an electric chair with nothing hooked up to him. So he has to tell the truth, which makes no sense.
It would have been more enjoyable sitting in an electric chair on death row than watching this electric
And then
chair.
he uses a line, which I mean, freaking, he twice he makes it to where he almost points out how stupid this is. Twice. Like, first, he's asked a question about the World Heavyweight Championship or the Universal Championship, to which he says he could win it anytime he wants to, and that it's not that important to him. And I'm like. You just buried your freaking championship. Like the
championship isn't important.
None of the championships are
Clearly.
important. Apparently, like not a damn one of them. I mean, the tag titles aren't important. The Universal Championship's not important. The 24/7 championship damn sure isn't important. It's right back to what, Cody and the Bucks were saying on at StarCast about how WWE doesn't have any value to their championships, that all the belts have been extremely disvalued.
It was terrible, and the only highlight of this entire debacle is when and Sammy's trying to get over his heel, and he's doing what he can, and he's really good as a heel. And at one point, he's like, wow, you guys really blew this. You could have asked me anything. You could have asked me about, my romantic life, or if I'm a good kisser or whatever. He's like, wow, you're really blowing it. You could have asked me anything. You could have even asked me about AEW.
Which was the second time he freaking made the whole segment look stupid, because when he opens up and says that admits to everybody that we didn't actually take fan questions. We simply had questions that someone backstage wrote, and it was a plant, and we're not taking actual questions from real fans, because real fans would have asked something better.
Hey, bro, when are we going to see that guy El Generico come back?
I know, right? Well, I mean, if it wasn't something written for him, maybe sooner than later it sounds like he's gunning to be fired. But I mean,
if this was a shoe and he went off script, that's I'm trying to get fired.
Yeah.
If it was a work and this was actually in the script, that was stupid, because immediately you got AEW chance, and immediately people went and Googled what the hell AEW was.
And the Google search for AEW hit a huge spike right afterwards. It was like one of the top searched things on Google for like the next 30 or 40 minutes. So I mean, you're just driving people to that product. But did you see Vince McMahon Googles on Twitter, his
Wow.
So there's tweets from Sasha Banks all weekend. She's tweeted stuff like, I love wrestling. Bailey's like, I love wrestling. Sasha replied to her, I love women's wrestling. Lots of I love wrestling tweets. And Vince McMahon Googling posted that photo, a screenshot of that, and it said, doesn't anyone love sports entertainment? Which I'm died. I'm like, that's so good. And there's a bunch of fans underneath like, no, not my thing. A bunch of gifts.
No.
Yeah, but like it seems like Sasha's push to like comment on everything AEW is her trying to get herself fired, and if Sami Zayn didn't have that written for him, man, like that's pushing for a release.
Well, to be fair, and we'll just hit on it since you brought up Sasha. Apparently her contract's up in September, and she was in New York and this weekend, and apparently, allegedly, maybe there was some sort of backdoor on the sly third party negotiations. I mean, it's all dirt sheet speculation, but allegedly what has been floated by a couple of the less reputable dirt sheets. So take it with a grain of salt. She was around and met with somebody up in the Northeast about what her plans are when she exits WWE. So take that for what it will.
So you're saying CM Punk to AEW confirmed,
or Sasha Banks to Miss Mercedes, because apparently that looks like maybe what her name will be after she leaves. Confirmed, yes. And CM Punk totally ripping off Wrestle Talk's gimmick. CM Punk to AEW quadruple confirmed.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, we're completely. So yeah.
Dude, if she does go to AEW, they need to reach out to Snoop to do her music. I mean, they're cousins. That makes so much sense. Have him. Then they can have him rap her out at one of the big shows. It would be crazy cool.
Not bad.
Yeah. That's the guy you get for StarCast too. You have him come in for like the big show, and you have him at StarCast. I mean, this everybody making money.
So. Yeah, so you kind of end up with Sami Zayn and Seth Rollins in the final match of the night, at least again on the Hulu version, and Seth ends up with a bum knee and is selling a knee. Ooh, Brock, he's gonna KO. The show ended.
Yeah, of course, because
that's your payoff.
Yep.
What payoff? Screw you, fans. You're stupid.
Yeah.
We'll tell you what you're meant to like, and you'll like it, god damn it. Because I'm Vincent McMahon, and you will do what I tell you. It's one of those, like, clearly it's bad Vince impression time. So Raw, Bob, I said it before we came on the air. I'll reiterate it here. All things being equal, considering what the WWE is today, the talent, the money, the availability of time on air, worst Raw ever. Like, this is the worst Raw Smackdown combination ever.
Yeah.
It's the worst Raw ever.
Yep.
Like, I'm there. Like, that's not that. Like, I'm not. I don't know what else to say. I've been advocating. Well, we're not there. We're there. We're there. Where you cannot say, when you have this much talent on their roster and this much money coming into that company, that you don't give us wrestling for an hour and 15 minutes, and then the wrestling you do give us is crap.
Yep. And
worst Raw ever.
And SmackDown went and proved to us that you don't need to watch WWE product because it doesn't matter. 24/7 title. R-Truth comes out. Shane's out there with Baron Corbin and Elias, and they're out there and they beat down Truth. Elias pins him, wins the 24/7 championship. Shane McMahon then makes a ruling saying that until the end of the show, the 24/7 championship is not in contention. So they just poo-pooed all over the rule for the 24/7 championship. Then they have a tag team match in which Roman teams with R-Truth against Elias and I'm trying to who else is on Shane's Flunky's side?
It's usually Elias and
Was it McIntyre?
Drew
There,
McIntyre,
okay.
who is being used as a glorified like bodyguard,
Yeah.
security henchman
Which is
guy.
unfortunate as hell. Anyway, so they have a tag match, and Roman beats Elias, gets the pin on Elias. And then as soon as the match is over, R-Truth pins Elias and is 24/7 champion again. And that's how we end the show. And it's just it's completely pointless. It means the whole point of them doing the you can't have the title defended, until the end of the show. The whole point of them taking it off Truth in the first place, like I mean, for a title that is already a joke title, they somehow managed to devalue it more.
I feel like the only thing that was missing from the end of SmackDown after that is if the little troll face, the the internet, if that would have popped up on the screen and then went away and then they would have went to black, that'd be good. Yeah. Right? Like,
I thought you were going to say the only thing that was missing was Oklahoma on commentary, but
I mean, it would have been appropriate.
Yeah.
That's about where we're at.
Yeah, it was
like, and this is, you have to assume this was WWE's big answer to, Double or Nothing.
Yeah, I mean,
it's not like they didn't know. Reports are Triple H and Stephanie are taking AEW very seriously, whatever that means. Like, and I think both of them are, especially Triple H. Triple H is smart enough to know that there is a market for what AEW is doing because he tapped into that market with NXT.
Exactly.
Like, I think he knows that. So you have to understand, at least assume on some level, that the WWE knows that Double or Nothing was going to just be, they were going to try and really, just make it the best show they could, like, and really come out of the gate strong.
Yep. And
it feels like Vince was like, well, they're going to do all that wrestling. That's fine. We're going to do sports entertainment. We're going to do it bigger and better than ever. And that's Vince. You're in the wrestling business. I know you hate it. I know you don't want to hear it. I understand that you are never going to accept it, but that's just a fact. And because you won't, your product sucks.
There is a reason WWE didn't when WCW went out of business. There is a reason WWE's ratings did not increase. It's because there was a different fan base for WCW that did not care for the WWE product. They did not in any way increase their numbers after WCW did not exist and they were the only one on TV on that Monday night and Thursday night time slots.
And that's why
is why there are so many people out there who are coming back and watching AEW and saying, I haven't watched wrestling in 10 years. I've seen this a lot online. My uncle sat down and watched Double or Nothing. He has not watched a pay-per-view in a good 10 years. He just, like he was watching, he watched WWE during the SmackDown 6 and then, early Cena and then, kind of tapped out. And here we are. He watched Double or Nothing and enjoyed the hell out of it. He really loved the Cody Rhodes Dustin match. He, was talking all about how much he enjoyed Dustin's time in WCW and how much, that match reminded him of, him working, with, Sting and with, against the Dangerous Alliance and things of that nature. And so they're tapping into an older fan base while at the same time they have all the fans who are New Japan and Ring of Honor fans who've sought out different content already tuning in, and WWE doesn't, and they're not going to be able to turn around their product. I think they're at the numbers for what fans of sports entertainment are out there. I don't think there are any other fans of sports entertainment they're going to draw in. So
you see it now. We did a week and a half ago at this point. We did our show comparing WWE to WCW 2000,
Yep.
and that seems. I've seen more and more comments like that, and you've got some of the larger shows are taking that kind of attitude towards it. And this is just confirming, it could be I try to be objective. People think, we get into it on social media and in forums and whatnot. People are like, oh, you hate on the WWE, but you use a parody of their logo and you're trying to glom onto them for. Well, yes, it's a parody. It was we started Smarkdown Radio. Thought it was kind of cool, kind of a little parody when WWE was really the only game in town. We took a hiatus, came back, and they weren't the only game in town anymore. And but we didn't want to change it because we liked it. We liked the brand, and we like kind of how we could parallel it and parody the Smackdown logo. We enjoy it because in our hearts we want the WWE to be great. I want the WWE to be fantastic. I want to be able to tune in and be like, oh, what's going to happen? Oh, this is going to be a great show. I can't wait to see it. And we don't get that anymore. And I'm not going to lie about it. I'm not going to sit here. There are these fans that are just like, well, it's the WWE, and I've been a fan for a really long time, and I'm not going to stop supporting them. If they're feeding you shit, stop eating shit.
Yeah.
Okay, go eat steak someplace else.
Yep.
Okay, if you're gonna eat shit and you're willing to do that, I can't control that. Like, look, you're not even worth arguing with. You wanna have rational, reasonable discussions, and I've done it on both sides. People are raving about Double or Nothing, and they're like, they're gonna bury the WWE. No, hold on there. Like, don't slow down. The WWE makes lots and lots of millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars every year, and they're the biggest game in town. And yes, this was an awesome thing, and let's take it down a notch, okay? Like, let's keep it realistic, okay? Don't say that either. And then the flip side of that is the WWE's gonna bury AEW. AEW's trash. No, it isn't. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Like the in-ring is second to none. Okay, like. We got to be honest about this. Like, as fans, if we're honest about it, we can communicate about it. And I'm not talking about if you like what you're seeing out of the WWE today. I don't know why.
They're the sports entertainment fan. That's what WWE has maintained. The people who like cheesy backstage soap opera.
Right. Well, then we're just gonna have to not agree.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to have to agree to disagree. And I hate saying that, but it comes down to not everybody has to like the same exact TV product.
Yep.
But WWE doesn't even resemble wrestling anymore.
Yeah.
Wrestling incidentally happens around the sports entertainment, and I hate it.
I said during Raw, I'm like, WWE now stands for Will Wrestling Ensue? Because I don't even know if we're going to get wrestling in the show when it goes an hour without a match.
No clue. Zero clue if wrestling will ensue. And you know what? I'm not going to just sit there and be like, yep, WWE, it's awesome. It's great. I love it. I've been watching since I was 4 years old, doing superflies off my dad's headboard. Yup. Nope, not going to happen. I'm going to call it out when it's garbage.
Yep.
And it is trash. It is trash tier. And the only reason I watched this week is because I wanted to compare it after watching something very, very good 48 hours prior. I wanted to be, all right, I just watched a great show. What you got? And it was even worse. It was even worse than some of the shows prior.
Yeah.
Like, okay, if you're into sports entertainment and you want ha-ha and silly, and well, you know what? There are plenty of ha-ha and silly going on in the indies. I don't know why you're hating the indies so much, because that crap happens too, okay? Somewhere, someplace, somebody's grabbing onto Joey Ryan's cock and doing a flip.
Well,
go watch it.
You'll be happy to know that Joey Ryan turned down an AEW contract, and that he is leaving the indies, which means he's going somewhere else that's not an indie company. So WWE, New Japan, Impact, like one of those. And I don't know, like he makes a lot of money at bar wrestling, so he's got to be making a pretty good payday to be leaving that. So maybe
Joey
that's
Ryan,
WWE's
NXT confirmed.
Yeah, maybe that's WWE's way to solve the problem is he's gonna come in and dick flip Brock Lesnar.
Oh, Jesus.
You know, I'd be okay with Brock Lesnar taking the dick flip. In fact, there's a number of guys on WWE roster who I'm like, yeah, I'd be okay with them, you know, completely eaten alive by Joey Ryan.
You know what? Again, you keep finding ways to almost make me a Joey Ryan fan. So, Bob, like I feel like we've been going for hours.
We need to talk quick about the just signed match for the fighter event on during CEO weekend. It was just announced tonight by AEW that Jon Moxley will go up against oh God, I'm blanking. Joey Janela,
Okay,
Jon Moxley.
Joey Janela, Jon Moxley. That could be really good.
Yes.
I have a feeling there's going to be some implements involved. It's going to get gnarly and nasty.
Yep.
I would imagine it's good to see. I'm not sold on Janela yet. I like some of what I see. I don't like some of the other stuff. It's kind of one of those like, I'm gonna give the guy a fair shake, right? I'm gonna see if he sucks me in. He does some really interesting things in the ring, but like I said, some of the cigarette spots and stuff I don't need. But him and Moxley's gonna get the best out of him.
Yeah.
And he's gonna make him look good. And he's gonna shine. I would imagine Moxley's gonna go over. But I imagine this is gonna be really. It's going to be an edgy, really hard-hitting match. So, and it'll be the first time we get to see Moxley in AEW in this sort of, rebooting the character. We'll see how much of Dean Ambrose we get, quote-unquote Dean. I would imagine we'll get a few pieces, but this is like I said, this is Ambrose Unleashed. I imagine it'll be a solid match
and we'll,
at the least.
And we'll have to keep our eyes open to see how to view that, as it sounds like it's not going to be a pay-per-view situation the next couple shows. And if that is the case, YouTube, Bleacher Report, like I'm not sure where that's gonna broadcast. I know CEO broadcast via Twitch, and last year the wrestling show that went along with that was broadcast on Twitch. But I don't know if that's that, being that they have this fighter thing that they're promoting it as an AEW show. I just don't know if that will broadcast along with CEO or not. The other news though, we're on Dean Ambrose. Dean Ambrose to New Japan confirmed.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to go over to New Japan, work some dates. Looks like the first one he's working is Juice Robinson.
Yep.
And, I mean, that'll be good, too. So Moxley's going to be working. He apparently can work international dates, very select indies. And then he's going to be one of the things they did say is he's going to be a weekly guy. He's going to be a very big part of the show in AEW.
Sounds like he's got a 5-year contract?
I hadn't heard years.
Yeah,
but I know this is a guy that's going to be main event, top tier level. He's going to have a spot, and we're going to see good things out of him. So, Get it, man. Bob. Like good night. Now, I think it's time to go home. Go home.
We've talked enough for the evening. Enough talk about WWE and their terrible show. You should
trash.
Yeah. I mean, if you can't sleep tonight, you could always just try watching Raw again.
That's true. I mean, I don't know though. Like, it may be so bad that it gives me nightmares. So probably not the best idea. Yeah. So look, you want to have give us some really good feels and nice dreams. Do us a favor, and Too Sweet, all the fun little icons, subscribe, hit the bell so you know when we're posting new content. You can always hit us up on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, in the comments. Bob?
Yeah, we'd love some comments, guys. We try to respond to anybody who has anything to say. So feel free to leave comments, share our video with your friends, because the more people we have subscribing and sharing our content, the more we can bring you. We would love to do more coverage of events live and to acquire a press pass to these things. We need to be legit and have a high number of followers, high number of likes, a lot of watches. So do what you can to help us out there, and we will make sure to deliver the content that you want to see.
For reals. So with that, I'm Travis. That's Brother Bob. And let's go ahead and Judas effect that button and get out of here.